Kandao has sent me their new 360 cam. I've been excited to try this thing out. Now, I don't know much about these 360 cams, how to edit with them, anything like that. So we'll be playing around with the software, the hardware, seeing how this all goes. They were nice enough to give me this 128 gig mini SD card. What else do we have in here? We've got extra battery, looks like a motorcycle mount. I don't like, but let's see, maybe I'll have something I can do with this. The selfie stick. I know the software is going to be able to erase the selfie stick in post. Excited to see what that looks like. And of course, the camera itself. Sorry. Let's open this baby up. And here it is. Two lenses form the 360 view. This thing feels pretty chunky, but we'll see what it can do. We've got all sorts of stuff here I'm gonna have to look into. But here is the main mount. Time to get to work. So here's a close-up of the camera. I want to give you guys a quick run through of the settings, what everything looks like on the interface, and how smooth it is. Let's take a quick look. We're going to power it on. Pretty quick to start up. Now we can go ahead and swipe from the bottom to get to our different resolutions. We can swipe from the top to get different settings here. We have brightness, you get really bright actually. And then we have some different settings as well, wireless connections, gain, flicker. So we got all sorts of settings. It's a pretty fast interface too. The touchscreen works quite well. Swipe over from the right to get into your exposure settings. And then we can swipe from the left and get to our footage. And real fast, I can actually just play some footage right from this preview mode. It looks like it's upside down, wait. There you go. Now we got some footage that I just shot, and I can even kind of move around the footage on the touch screen while I'm watching in the preview mode. So that's cool. And we've got the camera switcher here. So really fast, there I am, hello. Really fast, we can just go ahead and switch between the cameras. And you have a function button. So that locks the screen. You can kind of change what function that does. Swipe to unlock, and we're back. And then we've got different video, loop recording, time lapse, photos, DNG, interval. So all this kind of stuff here we can play with. And then we can see, of course, how much space is left in our memory card. And that's a quick run through of just what the functions look like on the camera. So we only have one screen on this side, but again, we can just switch and see the view from the other camera right here. And then we have two buttons. We've got the mode, power, and then shutter button. If we long press it, power off. So that's a quick view. There are some other functions here as well, but if you're just trying to get up and started with it, those are the key functions you'd want to look at. I'm not a pro editor or anything. I shoot most of my stuff just with my iPhone camera, like I'm shooting right now. I'm curious, using one of these kind of out of the box, learning some of the software, how hard is it going to be for an amateur like me to really figure out how to take some cool shots with a camera like this? What do I need to learn to actually make interesting content? And can I make useful artistic content with a camera like this without being an expert? So I'm going to play around with putting this on the selfie stick, going out on a little bike ride. I'll use the software and kind of show you my process of learning and figuring out how to use this effectively. And we'll see if we can make some cool footage. We'll come back later with some final thoughts. So I'm going to try to have the camera kind of coming out of my backpack here and see if I can get some interesting orbit shots in the software. We'll play around with the selfie stick while we're biking, and we'll see how it goes. I've imported a couple of clips from my bike ride into QooCam Studio. This is the software that we use to take the videos and stitch them together and make some different types of shots and movement. So I'll show you how it works. I spent about 20 minutes looking at some tutorials, trying to figure out how this works, and I think I have a pretty good sense of what I'm doing at this point. First off, you want to make sure that you're importing your footage directly to your computer. I tried to do it just straight from the camera in the software, and it was pretty choppy. But now, as we hit play, it's pretty smooth. We have audio as well, which I'll keep muted for now, so we can just talk through what I'm doing here. Now, Right now, we are in reframe mode. If I go to panorama, this is kind of the raw footage from the camera. It looks pretty crazy. We can drag around, and that's generally not the look that we're going for. So we can reframe it, move around here. That's still a pretty normal look, but it's nice. We just have our standard widescreen recording, and we can move it anywhere. We have a 360 view, up, down, left, right. But how do we get that dynamic movement in the footage? We add keyframes. So let me show you. We're going to do a keyframe right here with this view. We're going to move a few seconds here, another keyframe, and then it's going to smoothly move out that footage between those keyframes. So we'll hit play. And there we go. It looks like a cool dynamic camera movement. I can move this keyframe closer and make that movement faster. And that's how that works. Of course, there's some different views we can do in terms of perspective and orbit and crystal ball shots. So I'll show you what those look like. Let's go one by one. Here is the tiny planet view, which is pretty neat. And you can see it's a pretty big difference depending on how you drag through, like what you're gonna see here. I think that's a pretty cool view, but maybe from the side way, if we can get a little closer to me as a subject, like that. And oops, I think I just missed it because I moved the timeline. Hold on a second. We're going to do that again. Add a keyframe, and then we should get some pretty interesting movements here. So that was a really fast movement. Let's just spread this out another 5-10 seconds and see what that looks like. Now you have this interesting kind of crazy zoom out shot right there. Obviously the selfie stick disappears in post, so that looks pretty neat. Let's keep it going. We've got crystal ball. This, I don't know, maybe for some vertical video like TikTok something. For YouTube, it seems like it's way too cut off unless we're really zoomed in on this, but let's see how it goes with the whole reframing and keyframes here. So if we add, let's see, I'm getting a little dizzy here. Okay, let's try this. We'll add a keyframe and we'll see what that movement looks like. Probably zooming out to the crystal ball. And we slowly kind of turn into a crystal ball. Pretty interesting. So here's cylindrical, which looks very similar to the perspective view. I'm honestly not too sure what the difference is going to be, but we'll try it out. We'll go right here, add another keyframe, and watch as we zoom in. And now this clip will stay from this perspective until we change it again. I do notice a little bit of, call it, it seems like a rolling shutter almost, or a vibration somewhere in this little foreground here. Seems a little strange. But overall, the footage looks pretty good. You'll also notice right here that the view changes. This is because I moved the selfie stick and I kind of put it down closer to the ground. So we'll go right here and you can see that I'm really close to the ground, trying to get some more of like a speed view. And from here, I don't know how in this interface I'd be able to just cut out this section if I don't want to export this whole clip, but I could go ahead and just add a new keyframe where I want to start my clip again. And then we'll move over here and let's see what kind of perspective we can get when we do the tiny planet view from like a really low angle with the camera. And here you can see a very different perspective. Keyframe. We'll see what this looks like. That is pretty cool, actually. I like that a lot. So I want to keep this view going for a bit. Really trippy here. And then we'll start to zoom out right here. So if I want to start my zoom out here, I will do, I believe, another keyframe, move out a little bit, and let's try to go upside down. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's pretty neat. All right. So we played around with this a little bit. I know that I can clip out anything after here by clicking that, and then we'll export. We want to do a full 4K export as much as it'll give me, high bit rate, and we'll export. So this is a minute 45-second clip. We haven't even gotten to 1% yet. I'm not sure if something's wrong. I'm gonna let this run for a while and I will come back. You've seen the process, we've seen some cool footage together. I think at the end of the day, after learning how to use this thing, at least in the 360 video mode, it's pretty cool. You can make some really interesting footage and tie it into maybe some wider, more artistic videos. I don't know if I would want this to be my main camera to try to get just some normal footage, but if you want to add like an interesting globe effect or have these really interesting camera movements, it works really well for it, and it's pretty easy to make that stuff happen. As you saw and I told you earlier, I mean, probably 20 minutes of learning, figuring out, and I had a good feel for like how to make some good shots out of this thing. With that said, you really need to have a decent idea of what you're going for. So if you're just gonna grab this camera and selfie stick out of the box and just start shooting some stuff, it's gonna be a little difficult to really understand what that final footage might look like until you've had quite a bit of time with the camera playing around, getting a good understanding of the different settings and perspectives and software and how you can work all of that together to get the shot that you want. So it's a little bit of guesswork, especially out the box if you're kind of new to this style of shooting, but you can get some really cool looking footage pretty quickly just with these tools right here. Now, they of course have the motorcycle mount, different types of different helmet mounts and everything to really do all sorts of stuff with this camera. There are also a few different features like hyperlapse being one of them that I didn't go into in this video. There's other people that will show you how all of that works. I wanted to keep this somewhat short and try to show you just I think one of the main functions that most people buying this would want to use. And those are my final thoughts. So pretty cool little piece of kit right here. Would recommend as long as you really understand, again, what this is and what you would be doing with it. If you have any questions, though, about the workflow or want to see anything else with this camera, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.